He's one of the most talented at cueing in the game of pool. Effortless power. And one thing I see about Jeffrey at times, he can get a little bit ahead of himself, but I think that's gotten so much better in the last couple of years. Carlo, who's been on the main stage plenty of times. And this team made it to the semifinal last year, so looking to do a couple of notches better than that.
Yes, I think contrasting styles with these two. De Luna plays the more carefree, charismatic pool. Biardo, well, he's the more reliable.
Yeah, and a very efficient player with a ton of talent, and that's what I was getting at as far as De Luna. Sometimes he can do a little more than is needed, and when the pressure's on, of course you want to feel loose, but using that brain really helps. So it's keeping the game as simple as possible. And now, pretty nice shape on the 7. Just go to the cushion most likely for the 8 in the corner and get out to a 1-0 lead. It's gotten a little straight here, so I think he has enough angle to move the cue ball over and play the 9 in the same hole.
Hey presto, one rack. The Philippines show why they are pool powerhouses.
I haven't got to see him play in a while, but I know he's been playing a lot of pool. Plays pretty much all the Euro tours. And very comfortable as far as the players he's playing. Now this stage here, that could be a different story.
Yes, and his record on the Euro Tour over the years, reasonable. 1 victory, 2 losing finals, 2 losing semi-finals.
Right. You're talking about 150 players each stop, roughly, with probably 15 of the top 40 in the world or 20 of the top 40 in the world consistently on that tour. So pretty tough to have those kind of results. Now he'll just coast the 1 by the 4 and bring the cue ball up on the 3, I believe. That looks a little hard unless he's trying to get him up on the 2 ball. And I think he's left him a shot, Phil. Just a little hard.
Yes, the Filipinos plant their opponents in trouble on such a regular basis that when they don't, that look of disgust comes out.
Yeah, and it's probably not only the safeties, of course, but a lot of the great players know the safeties and execute them at a high percentage. But the Filipinos, when it comes to a tactical game, they kick so well. So if you put one player in the same position a Filipino player might put you in, they kick out of a lot of safeties, which if you do that a couple times a match, especially in a race to 7, that could mean the difference. Now he's got a big pocket on this combination. I think the key to this is don't baby it too much. If you baby it, the 3 could bounce off the rail and hit the 4 flush. If you go ahead and shoot it a little bit, it should just coast right on. And oh, he hit it cleanly. And great results on the 2. Little bit of a tester here. We've already seen the side pocket stand a few of them up. And this is a big rack for the Czech Republic, just to let the Philippines know if you make a mistake, we're going to capitalize.
It was a pretty galling safety error from the Filipinos. Are they going to be punished? Michel Gavenciak. He's the least well known of the 4 players involved in this one. And when that's the case, and you know it, I suppose it's difficult to get attuned to what's going on in terms of not becoming intimidated.
That's right. And I should, of course, we don't have caddies and stuff like that, but you do have a partner in this event. So that's something that Roman can maybe use as experience, and not during the match so much. You don't want to do that a whole lot, but maybe prior to the match. Figure out little words of encouragement, and without even knowing your partner's trying to encourage you, just things to calm you down. Well, he's elevating here. I'm not sure why. He's a tall man, so that may have a little to do with it. Any miss hit, though, with a little elevation, swerve the cue ball. And what looks to be a pretty solid out here in game 2, Phil. Okay, is that going to get into position? It did.
Well, Biardo misjudged his safety. The Czech pairing have done the rest. And together with his partner, that was a pretty eye-catching Roman conquest. 1-1.
Well, he tried to cut him, and I think he just cut him a bit too much. A lot of work here on this table, though. He's got a 1 ball that's a nice shot to start on, and he's got to come back for the 2. But you can see the 4, 5, 6, 7. There's going to be some work there. Oh, that was a comfortable stroke there. Made that look easy. I'm assuming he's coming across the 5 for the 3 in the same pocket as the 2. Oh no, he went forward. Lots of places to play position on that 3. Now's where you got to start making your decisions. How I'm going to get from the 5 to the 6. I mean, the 4 is next, obviously, but those last few balls need to be addressed. So this will most certainly be top inside English, which would be top right English, catching 3 rails out for the 5 in the corner or the 5 in the side. One thing about the 5 in the side is if you get a little thin or on the rail like he's done here, it could pose a problem. That's why I may have just come 3 rails for the corner. Corner position really offers a lot more naturals. I know the side pocket's a little easier to make the ball a lot of times, but doesn't keep you in line with the cue ball so much. So now he's got to make a real decision. Do I elevate, try to kill this ball, or is there too much angle to do that? So I go up and down the table.
Extension called.
So he's elevating. I believe he's going 2 rails up and down the table. Yeah. And he may get away with it as far as not leaving an offensive shot. But could have put a lot of heat on the Filipinos right there if they get out after their dry break and then maybe break the balls and run out. So
I think one of the things the Filipinos do so well is visualize shots. And they'll be thinking here about maximum strife for their opponents.
okay, nice touch there. And you'll notice even with the bridge, he didn't really try to steer the ball at all. You were talking about the Filipinos and visualizing, but the tables that they grow up playing on are so slow and difficult, or at least back in the day they were. I'm sure they've improved. But they learn to play with their stroke a lot more, which is under pressure is the way you want to do it. They don't really steer the ball too much or steer the cue stick. So this is going to give up an easy shot on the 5. Now what's the 6 going to do? Because he's a little off angle on the 5. And you'll notice the 7 is on the opposite side of the table. So getting super thin on the 6 isn't that great. So you might see him unload here, Phil, and go 3 rails with the cue ball. Oh, he's going down, so he's going to draw it out 2 rails. So this should hit 5 or 6 inches by the 8, something like that. See, and he's trying to really pull it. That was a great shot. And that's a little exhibition of that cue power I was talking about. I don't think anybody has as much easy cue power as Jeffrey De Luna.
He's great to watch. Jack in the box, you never know what to expect.
That's right. And the funny thing about pool these days with the conditions we play under, it's really about mastering up to 60 or 70%. You rarely have to go to that 80, 90%, 100% while you're playing. Now, when you break the balls, it gets a little different. But he is one of those guys that can maintain so much accuracy while still having so much power.
And bear in mind, if these two were to win this tournament, because of pool status in the Philippines, they would be national heroes. That adds pressure in itself, but so far, so good. Just that safety misjudgment in the second rack from the Philippines. Apart from that, they've been as good as usual. They lead 2-1.
All big names there. And now the Czech to break off in game 4, only trailing 2-1. And that right there is hard to overcome, the dry breaks. And I believe he's got a little bit of a look at the 1. It may not be offensive, but still a look at the 1. So if he can't go offensive, he'll chip this ball. He's got the 7, 8, the 4. He's just got to get by those, and he could bury him underneath the 6 here. That's where he's kind of running the cue ball if he's playing safe. He may be making this. Oh, he's playing safe. Okay. Oh, that's going to go too far. Is it going to scratch? Wow.
Foul.
So that's 2 safety errors in a row by Carlo Beato, which you don't see. You might not see two safety errors in a row by him. Might take another couple of years, Phil.
Very surprising, you're right. Because that was an obvious peril. He must have realised that, misjudged that, and the scratch is on.
Yeah, and that's why he kind of wanted to go for the 6 to really bury him. And that's what I was talking about earlier in a match. Sometimes don't go for the devastation when it comes to the snooker in this short race. You just go for the simple hook and take your chances. Now, if the devastating hook is right there for you, it's a different story. But here in this short race, little mistakes add up quickly. Okay, the 3 is obviously goes by the 8. Not sure the 4 goes by the 8. It goes in the upper right by the 7. But it all depends on the angle on the 3, where he can go with the cue ball. Looks like if he goes straight forward, he might be going into the face of the 5, Phil.
Extension called.
So this is a little tricky.
Hence the 30-second extension being applied here. It's 30-second shot clock and 1 30-second extension per team per rack. And that one just about struggled in.
Yeah, and he knew he had to use the pocket a little bit to get by the 5, and he still bumped the 5, but he knew if he caught the right side of it, it was going to be okay. So pretty good percentage play, really. Not trying to do too much. And that's one thing as far as the pairings have to realize. You have to depend on your partner. You can't worry about trying to get him perfect. If you think he's a little lesser player than you are, you just got to play the game.
Yes, the way this tournament works, always has, presumably always will. You could have the very best player in the world, the most dominant force Pool's ever known. But if he's playing alongside a novice who's making mistakes, he's toast.
That's right. And novice is a harsh word out here for these guys, but we've seen some guys that are definitely a tier or two below the better players here in the event. And I'm not sure what he was expecting there. I think it just got away from him a little bit. Now he's left his partner a little bit of a thin cut on the 7, but offers natural position to the 8.
What I was saying before, obviously, with the word novice, was a hypothetical point.
Right.
No novices here, not even the Brazilians who played poorly in the previous match could be described as that. But this really is a team effort. Scotch doubles absolutely requires it.
Man, I tell you, the more times these guys get out in this short race to 7, that confidence is growing, and I'm really surprised he's elevating on this. But some people have a preference. It's like when you get close to the ball, it's kind of like you have a preference on a lot of shots that way.
And always in the back of the minds of the players who are the seeds here is the thought that in the history of this World Cup of Pool, we've seen so many upsets you would not believe, especially in the early stages of tournaments. And Carlo Biardo there, who failed to get the hook in the second rack, left a ball on and the Czech pairing ran out. This time he scratches and the Czechs run out again.
It's the same thing in singles play. First match of a tournament, early in the tournament, high pressure situation. So instead of trying to play so precise on the 3 in the side, I think I would come up for the 3 in the same corner. That looks like the natural way to play it. And then as long as you get above the 3, there's not going to be any problems getting on the 4. There's not an angle you can't handle. One thing about the Philippines that is always, I would astonish might not be the word, but close to that anyways, is as dominant as they are as a whole, and they have been for a long time. And when I say dominant, meaning they're a force, one of the top 3 or 4 countries in the world for sure, and still are in my opinion. You see so many different styles. You see so many different variations of strokes and cueing from the Philippines, where when you see dominant countries, kind of like Taiwan, they're also very similar because of the training. But the Philippines, they learn on their own a little bit. They learn a lot by match play and trying to play the better players from their country. So still amazing to me how many different types of styles you see for so many great players. Now, if the 6 passes the 9, this should be fairly routine. Just got to make sure he makes the 5. And you'll see these players feel stress a little more because they know every mistake in a race to 7 is so magnified. And we're playing a single elimination tournament. You only have one life.
Extension called.
I think he should pinch this cue ball back about 5 or 6, 7 inches. He can even handle going as far back as where it's at now, and that offers a natural position from the 7 to the 8 running the cue ball. Well, he stayed pretty straight, so now he's going to have to put some speed on this to get back down table. Especially going to have to put some speed on it to follow the ball. If he has an angle to draw it to the short side of the 8, it becomes a little easier on this table, I believe. Okay, so he's following it. He's pretty full on the 7. Yeah. And I didn't care for the, you see how hard he had to hit the ball, which shrinks the pocket, right? So when he shot the 6, I thought for sure they would decide to draw the cue ball back for an angle on the 7, more of an angle, which makes the cue ball easy to run. But now those deep shelves on this Rasan table has gotten another victim. This ball is deep in there. A lot of people would suggest rail first here, but that ball being so deep, I like his chances on the ball first. Now watch out for that corner where he's standing. That's going to get on the end rail below the 8 a little bit. Oh no, it checked nicely. Pardon the pun. So you go offensive here, Phil. Cut the ball in, right? 3 rails with the cue ball.
When you get this kind of chance, you have to try and take it.
The speed looks a little much, but should be okay.
Extension called.
No, a mistake. And so you can trace the early trouble the Philippines are in back to 3 mistakes from Carlo Biardo, being hammered
Beg your pardon.
9-1 by China B in the quarters.
Yeah, well, they definitely have their hands full here. I think that's pretty apparent to them. And it's been really, can't say really that the Czech made mistakes. It was just what their opportunities were given. They took full advantage, so it wasn't like mistake after mistake. It was just a couple safety errors and then a missed 7 ball. So, but again, this is one you can't overcome to keep breaking dry. When you win a match and you keep breaking dry, it's pretty fortunate at this level.
Yes, you're defying the odds if you do it in a big way.
Okay, I believe he's got to elevate here. He could maybe slow roll this in. It's hard to tell the exact angle all the time, so he is going to slow roll it in. Take a little more distance on the 2. The thing about it is you don't want to get too straight on the 2. And I think he's okay to pound it out for the 3, but it's not a hanger. That's why he's shaking his head a little bit. Maybe they were discussing he should have maybe elevated on the 1 to get a little more angle on the 2. Now it appears the 4 goes by the 5 once the 3 is gone. But I don't know if he can afford to go by the 9 and try and get position up for the corner. He may have to play short side for the side pocket here, or the upper corner. Okay. So what's the cue ball going to do? The 4 does pass the 5. And that was pretty intended, catching a portion of the 9 to get up position on the 4. That wasn't just a hit and hope. fairly routine here, Phil. He's got a couple options on the 7. He can come one rail out for the 7 and the side. I still on this table would probably play for the corner, just because it keeps you in line, and pocketing the balls in the corner is not too difficult. Shouldn't be too much wrong with this. The angle's natural to go to the right of the 8. Now, one thing is you want to pay attention when you're going down table with the cue ball. You don't want to land fairly straight near the rail. Now, when he comes down table, you don't want to fall straight. I mean, straight is obviously ideal on the 9, right? But then you could go by it if you overhit. So you always want to look to be about a foot above the 8 with a little cut shot. A foot above the 9. Now, he came in real flat here. Speed better be really nice. So that tells me Carlo's, not only because of the other mistakes, but Carlo's not exactly perfectly on form here.
Yes, precise speed. Saved Biardo there. DeLuna had a simple pot in the end, but that positional shot could so easily have gone astray. 6 racks played in this opening round match. The Philippines and Czech Republic are tied at 3-3.
The matchups, you would say there's been a clear favorite, and pretty much the second match was a little closer, but then we had a little upset there. But even with some of the clear favorite teams in this opening day, I expect some close matches. We haven't really had it, but do expect it. Now, Jeffrey DeLuna made the wing ball there, which is something a 9-ball player loves to see. Now, interesting shot here on the 1 after making a few mistakes, because he's got to put a little speed on this one and go back and forth with the cue ball. Now, he only has to get to about where the 5's at off the second rail. You don't want to go all the way back over, because you see the 4. See where the 4's at? If he doesn't land underneath that 3, he could get straight, and then we got problems. So really, he went about a foot too far, but it would have been a little unfortunate to fall straight in, but it seems to happen more often than you think. Okay, so with the 6-7 being there, this would be a 3-rail position for the 5 in the upper right-hand corner. He'll go just underneath the 6, and again, just kind of float into position. You don't have to get perfectly straight on the 5. And that's perfect speed.
Okay.
Whoa. Oh, he killed it nice. Well, if the Filipino players go ahead and get out here, they'll be up 4-3, but really it's just been the break has been the difference. I would have to say the Czech team has made fewer mistakes, probably, besides dry breaks. So playing nice position for the right-handed. Oh, that ball ran a little further there. He wanted to lay on the rail to make it very easy for Carlo to come around the table. Now he's going to have to draw the ball back down.
Welcome to viewers on Sky Sports main event, and your timing was impeccable. Just as the winning 9-ball goes down, the Filipinos breaking and running in rack number 7 to regain the lead.
So down to a race to 3 here. Huge break off for Carlo, who broke him really well in the opening game. made a ball. He's got the one tracking towards the corner. Now what's the cue ball going to do? Oh, I think he's got a shot.
We saw on those stats that they were averaging 1 ball per break-off, and that average is maintained because the 4 has disappeared.
Now this is all about potting the ball here for the upper right on the 1. Natural position to get on the 2, running the cue ball 2 rails. You can see the 3, I believe it's the 3 and 4 next to the opposite side pocket. So it's all about this 1 ball. Wow. I'm really shocked that ball caught the 8. I thought it would come much longer. It still didn't slow him down too much. So that's the 3 and the 5 near the side pocket. Okay, got a little thin here, so a decision to make. Can't just simply go forward. He'll catch a piece of that ball possibly and knock it, the 5, out of position. Now one thing that he can come 2 rails to the left of the 8 pretty easily. Oh, he's looking to try and bump this ball or just barely go by it. Yeah, I don't know. That's gotten him funny, and I would have really been like Carlos. Carlo was trying to direct him to move the cue ball 2 rails to the center of the table in between the 7 and 8. You can see him pointing right there, and he's wondering why. It's kind of like this. If you're a pro, don't let the situation or how much maybe your nerves are going to keep you from playing what is the correct shot. So now he's got to bump the 6.
You heard the extension called. It's a 30-second shot clock in operation, and in each rack, each team has one 30-second extension, which the Filipinos felt it necessary to take there. I think it worked out. Decision vindicated.
Yeah, but again, that little bit of position area caused him to go into the 6 with the cue ball, and now he's got to worry about the 9 a little bit. Don't think no chance of getting snookered, but he wants to get good position. So is he hitting this with top inside? Watch out for the 8. Don't get elevated over the 8. Oh my. So that's what we talked about a couple of matches ago. Just a couple inches on an early ball just kept him out of line and a little unsure of what was totally going to happen. And Jeffrey hit that great with the bridge with a little inside running the cue ball off the 9. But now is left Carlo with a tough one. Wow, that's a great shot.
In the 5th rack, he missed a much more straightforward 7 ball than that. To the opposite pocket, that one just about wiggled in.
Okay, Jeffrey going to the rail just past the side and back out for the 9. I'll tell you, there was a mental error or 2 by Jeffrey, but as far as execution, this match has been ideal.
That is the 3rd break and run out from the Filipinos, and they hit the front yet again at 5-4. Can they pull away on this occasion? Well, we'll find out after the break. Giants of sport, any sport, sometimes struggle. That's been the case for the Filipinos this evening. They lead the Czech Republic 5-4. Still this match on a knife edge. The Czechs, though, need to get this break sorted out. This is their 5th break of the match. The first 4 have been dry.
Well, I like they're thinking of at least making a change. It didn't give them any better result. He made a change, though, but if you notice the way he broke the balls, it looked like he was unsure on how he wanted to hit them. He definitely wanted to hit them from a different spot and give himself a better chance of making a ball, but still didn't look so confident on the break.
Are we going to see a De Luna special? Oh!
This is pretty touchy safety here because the 2's so close to the 9. I don't think he can cut the 2 and let it escape back up table so easily and get him up behind the 7, most likely. Maybe he can. Or he's just going to disregard the 2 and play the cue ball behind the 7. That's a good plan. Oh, wow. Went for the bank. Well, that's pretty surprising in my opinion. At a 5-4 match score. I don't think he was the favorite to make it, and it wasn't a must, Phil.
I think Biardo's performance as a whole has been surprising.
Yeah, well, physical error is one thing, but mental errors, those are the ones that usually cost you more than anything. All of us miss out there. All these guys have missed.
Extension called.
But you can't lose your brain. Now he's got about 8 feet, but the 2's near the hole, so the 2 shouldn't be a problem. He's got to worry about the 4 a little bit. Don't get behind the 4, getting on the 3. Okay, he made sure he put enough on there. And now he's got issues. He's got a shot on the 3, but what's he do on the 4? Doesn't go by the 5 in the upper right-hand corner. So this is probably something you work on. This is all about cueing. Just a straight draw stroke. Try and draw by the 4, but if he goes into the 4, that's okay. Oh, he got a lot of it. So now decision for his partner. Do I cut this down the rail or do I take a cross-side bank? He's definitely going to be offensive, Phil.
Arguably the most important shot of the match so far, this.
Looks like he's cutting it down the rail, just going back and forth with the cue ball. Like a center ball. A little speed on it. Nice stroke. Wasn't the most perfect hit going down the rail, but the stroke really opened the pocket up.
Gavenciak looking good.
Yeah, and he fell really awkward here as well. Meaning he's a little bit behind it, and he's stretched, so he's using the bridge. Hard to move the cue ball easily around the 8, and that's what he needs to do. He may just pinch this back and let his partner have a long shot on the 6. Well, where's he going with the cue ball? The 6 doesn't pass the 9. I guess he was trying to get all the way down. I think he's left Michelle. Oh, is he going to bank it? Okay, he's going for the bank. Cross corner to essentially tie this match at 5. They should get out if he can bury this. A little light. Did you see how the 6 kind of spread to the bottom rail? That's the new feld and slick conditions. If you're going to shoot those types of banks right there, the ones that are a little further up in the middle of the table, you have to hit them with a little more speed. Or playing much higher, which is hard to do when you're used to playing them a certain way. I don't think you'll see Jeffrey take on any bank like De Luna did, like Carlo did. He'll just try and lay the cue ball down. He didn't do the best of jobs either. He left him an open shot. So that's the 4th missed safety by the Filipinos in this short race to 7.
Which, for them, is appreciably below par.
Especially in a situation like that, because he could have went offensive, but he knew the safety was pretty easy to get him up behind the 7, and now you don't do it. I figure Hubler to bury this one.
The Czechs displaying stickability, refusing to succumb. 3 balls away from parity again.
And besides the Filipinos, everyone wants to see the close matches, but including us. But what would this match look like if we wouldn't have 5 dry breaks by the Czechs?
I'll tell you who wants to see this close match in a Czech victory. The Albanians, who lie in wait for the winners.
Yeah, and I think all 3 of our, actually 4 now, 50-yard line, by the way, on the 9. So this is kind of preference. Do you like to cut the ball a little more to the left or to the right? Sometimes it's equal, but sometimes eye dominance will tell you, oh, I like it a little bit more to the left. Just smooth it in. Cue ball's going to be fine. Should come about where he's standing now.
A couple of really sterling pots from Michel Gavenciak in rack number 10. And the consequence, how about this? The Czech Republic are back on level terms once more with the Philippines. It's 5-5.
Oh, what a time for a dry break. And a shot on the 1. Wow, so it's in the Czechs' hands from here. Meaning they don't have to let the Filipinos back to the table for this match. They will be breaking in the next game. They have an open shot on the 1. Position on the 2 isn't so easy because of the guesswork of the 7. If you could move the 7. So if he can, I like drawing into the 8 to where the cue ball just holds, kind of replaces where the 8's at. I like elevating here. It looks pretty natural. Just stay steady with the stroke. Draw right into the 8. Replace the 8 with the cue ball. Oh, he let it get away. Is it going to help him out? I think the 7 might have got him a little bit. So a little quick with the stroke there. And when you get a little quick, Phil, the draw doesn't have time to take. The cue ball kind of bounces off the object ball a little bit, and therefore he caught the 8 a little thin. Just got to get a lot of power on this to get the cue ball back down table. There's not much angle.
Extension called.
What is Michel? About 6'5", 6'6"?
Got the pot, but not the desired action.
Yeah, and I think he was sacrificing accuracy on making the 2 if he really tried to amp up, because you could see there wasn't much angle, and he hit the ball pretty hard, and it still only moved about 1.5 feet. So is he going to place the cue ball behind the 9, the 3, but kind of behind the 4? It looks like the smart play. And I think he's done pretty well.
Well, he kept it simple, but it looks effective.
Yeah. Well, getting the snooker is huge in these short races. Making sure you get that snooker. I know the guys are incredible at kicking and they're incredible at jumping, but at least you want to make sure they have to do that. Surprised he's not kicking here. He must feel like he can get the, oh, he did. Okay. So Carlo, in my opinion, has done his job. He's made his opponent have to come with 1 to beat him.
A first-round exit from this Bedvictor World Cup of Pool would reverberate around the sport. It really would. Not happened yet, but it's a possibility.
Oh, watch out for the cue ball. Wow. And that's what I mean as far as if you make a few mistakes and you keep these teams creeping around, we call them the pool gods in the U.S. They can certainly be cruel. And a really tough kick here because of the 4's in the way, the 5's in the way. Nothing easy.
I think the jaw of the pocket's in the way of one escape.
Yeah, he's definitely corner hooked. So he's got to shoot this with a lot of spin, not being able to dig on the cue ball too much. So he's very aware of the 4. So a lot of times in this position on the slick cloth, being aware of the 4, you don't spin it enough, and you just kind of go right in between the 3-7 with the cue ball off one rail, because you're worried about spinning too hard into the 4, and yeah, just kind of like that.
Foul.
It's pretty general what happens a lot of times if you just don't realize, hey, I got to pick my point, don't worry about the 4 ball, and go at that 3.
Right now, De Luna is not over the moon.
No, they're feeling the heat, and again, in another position here to not let the Filipinos back to the table here in this opening match for the Czech Republic. They have ball in hand, very open table. The 6, he's got to pay attention to the 6 getting back to the 7, but then they also break what will be in the 12th game.
When underdogs get on the verge of any victory in Q Sports, you're always looking out for that mistake that undermines them. Will it occur? Will it happen? Or will the Czechs remain firm and steadfast?
Well, he's gotten a little funny here on this 5. He wishes he was a little thinner or a little thicker. He's kind of gotten in between, so he's going to have to go back and forth. Don't let the cue ball fall towards the 7, though. Okay, he did real well, that center English. Made sure he didn't have any top English on that 5 at all. So now it's just all about replacing the cue ball where it's at now for the 7. Draw's easy. Really nice. We saw Hubler elevate on a 9 ball and a 1 ball, so he doesn't really have a problem elevating a big situation.
In any sport, there's nothing like a major upset being on the cards. It really does get the juices flowing.
Well, it will definitely wake up the favorites for the next 2 days and then remaining match for tonight.
Well, on that close-up of Michel Gavankyak, you saw him shaking a little. It's understandable. Hubler, though, has been super cool. And the Czech Republic are within 1 rack of what would be a colossal upset. And that's because they lead the mighty Filipinos 6-5.
He's missed position once. I believe he's missed 1 ball. So played a solid match, especially considering the situation and the pressure, the setting. Playing one of the favorites, the Filipinos. Well, same old is what it appears.
Well, what we do know now, Jeremy, is that if the Czech Republic somehow do win, they will have done so by breaking off dry every single time.
Yeah.
That would be unique.
Yeah, you could have gotten a handsome wager on that. That's for sure. Now, is the 4-9 playable later in the rack? It sure appears so. I don't think the 7's in the way. Offensive 1 ball bank or cut, just kind of what he prefers. And of course, you almost always want to go with the cut when you can. I just couldn't see exactly how thin it was. Now we'll get a look at that 4-9 here shortly. These guys haven't surveyed much as far as the 4 is concerned, so it makes me think that the 4-9 is very playable. don't think he really even has to throw the ball much. I think it's lined straight in. Yeah.
Well, I suppose it's a fitting conclusion to a match that's gone this way and then that. There's never been a 2-rack advantage for anyone when he missed that 7 ball.
Yeah. And he's had 2 great breaks. I believe they ran the table off both. I know they did in the first rack. Okay, he's made the one on the side. The 2 appears to be hanging up. Oh, well, you can't ask for a better starter than this. Still got some work, though. That 2 is awfully deep. And with that 4 ball being there, he's got to be a little concerned. What's the cue ball doing? He's going to draw it straight out, I believe. He may draw by the 4, but that's dangerous. I wouldn't come near the 4. Yeah, I would just draw it straight out. Now, this is the concern from the 3 to the 4 to the 5. How he plays this, you can see there's a 6 ball in the way. Very tough to move the cue ball from the 4 to the 5 like that. The 9's a little in the way if he falls on the other angle, drawing it back up table, and the 8's there as well. So they need to make a clear-cut decision here. He needs that to go a little bit. Needs it to go a little bit. Okay, that's enough angle, but now he needs to play short side on the 5, and he can't get straight on it. You see the 6 is down here on the bottom rail. So a little bit of drama here in this last run. He could draw by the 9. That would be a sweet shot. There's just enough space for the cue ball to go by it. Yeah, where he's pointing right there. And the thing about that shot is if he doesn't let up on it, he can afford a little bit of contact on the 9 and still get shape on the 5. I think he got a little straight here, Phil. I think you're going to see him go by that 9 ball. And I think that's actually the best percentage play as far as to trying to run out. Okay, he got a little contact. But again, with that powerful stroke, still got a little draw after contacting the 9. This one down, everything's pretty natural.
I'm not surprised he's not been at peak efficiency.
Got away with it. He missed it far enough that it didn't hang in the pocket. Okay, so here's where do you really trust what you're doing with the cue ball. Here you bank the 5 down by the 6 and bring the cue ball behind the 8. I don't like him chipping the ball and running it here.
Extension called.
There's a few different options. He could play off the right side of the 5 and run the cue ball and try and use the 7 as a snooker. I kind of like him banking the 5 down by the 6 and trying to use the 8. Oh, he went for the bank. Wow, that was very surprising. Now, what's the 5 going to do? What's the 5 going to do?
I think it's just poked out.
And Hubler's been very solid with the safeties. I'm really surprised. And not only that, look at the cue ball position. So position on the 6 wasn't any guarantee. You usually want natural position on the next ball if you're going to go for that bank. Well, he's gotten a little thin here. So decision again. Do I go up and down the table or do I just kind of soft spin it in?
Diardo has missed a 7 ball into this very pocket already in this match. No mistake there, though. No mistake. They have scraped through by their collective skin of teeth. What a match, and what a victory in the end for the Philippines. Boy, did they make life hard for themselves, though. They beat the Czech Republic 7-6 in a real thriller at the Bet Victor World Cup half pool.